UFC fighters talked a lot of mess. The sport is infamous for the drama that goes on before and after a fight. Fighters have bitter rivalries that get played out in the octagon. Oftentimes, even if a fighter loses, they're liable to talk smack on Twitter the very next day, like Conor McGregor. Sure, you've got a few humble competitors, but mostly you've got some big egos, like Muhammad Ali big. Today, we're going over the biggest news in UFC, especially Izzy Adesanya's flame war with Derek Brunson. You don't want to miss the latest news, so stick right there. Israel Adesanya fires back at Derek Brunson. The bad boys of UFC are at it again. At this point, I don't know why anyone takes shots at Israel Adesanya. The middleweight champ has been undefeated in his weight class. He's stunted on every other threat to his title, so much so he's hungry for fresh blood. And yet Derek Brunson thinks this time he's up for the challenge. The feud started long ago when Brunson was going up against Izzy in 2020. Poor Brunson called Izzy son, meaning to demean the world champ. Izzy didn't take kindly to being called son by anyone but his own papa. So, geez, if you haven't seen this fight, you have to. In the second round, Izzy jabbed Brunson and then instantly followed up with a kick to the face. Brunson shot down like a lead balloon. Then, Chris Tucker from Friday came out and said, "You got knocked out, man." Okay, maybe I made that last part up, but it felt like that. Poor Brunson didn't know what hit him. Since then, Brunson has been on a hot streak. He's won multiple fights in a row and said explicitly that he wants a rematch with Adesanya. The UFC might agree, but Adesanya is still scheduled to fight Robert Whittaker before anyone else in 2022. A Brunson-Adesanya rematch will probably happen, but we'll have to wait at least a year. Brunson is adamant that his feud with Adesanya is purely competitive. He says he just wants to fight the best fighters in the world, and Izzy is one of them. I would believe him, but their Twitters keep blowing up. First, Brunson, coming off a hot victory over Darren Till, got upset at Izzy for supporting Till and not Brunson in the fight. It seems Izzy really wants to fight Till because he's the new meat in the middleweight division. For Brunson, it felt like he was being passed over for a worse fighter. Till has not been performing well since his move up from welterweight, but Adesanya has expressed his admiration for the Scouse fighter. Well, Izzy wasn't about to let Brunson saying anything against him go unanswered. Quickly, Izzy, who literally has a mug with the words "Tears of People I've Offended" written on it, fired off some crazy disrespectful tweets. Before the fight, he posted a video saying, "I can give you the blueprints, you bitches could never. Hashtag feeding folks since ages ago. Hashtag have some bread." The video showed Adesanya knocking out Brunson with a right leg kick to the head. Then after the fight, Adesanya tweeted, "Calm down, boy, you still a bum, son. Brutal." Izzy is completely confident he can take Brunson again. Brunson, on the other hand, is a little more humble. On Twitter, he said, "What needs to happen is Israel Adesanya versus Derek Brunson 2 in Auckland, New Zealand. The statement I need to make needs to be done in his backyard." It sounds like Brunson wants a challenge and to humble Adesanya a bit. Beating him on his home turf would definitely do that. Now, he just needs to win the fight. Yes, Brunson is confident like Adesanya, and yes, he probably thinks he can beat Adesanya this time. He's changed a lot since a year ago. He changed training styles and has really been on a hot streak, as I said earlier. It's very possible Adesanya doesn't know what this new Derek Brunson will fight like. Time will tell who can talk the talk and walk the walk. But honestly, I cannot wait for this fight. Colby Covington wants to come for Israel Adesanya. "I'm going up to 185 to take Stylebender's belt," said Colby Covington in a recent interview. The welterweight hasn't yet secured the championship belt in his own division, but he is already coming after Adesanya. Soon, Colby, or Chaos as his fans call him, will be doing a rematch with his opponent Kamaru Usman. We're not sure how it'll go, but Chaos seems confident it will go his way. It could be true. Colby has been performing extraordinarily well recently. He knows how to grapple and strike with the best of them, but moving up a weight class often has unintended consequences. A different weight class is a whole different ballgame for fighters. Just ask Adesanya. He tried to move up to light heavyweight and got defeated for the first time in his UFC career. It's no walk in the park. Covington is ranked as #1 in the welterweight division, but he hasn't yet won the title. He's the favorite for his upcoming bout for the belt. We'll see what happens. Covington has also tossed down the gauntlet with Dustin Poirier. He wants the lightweight champ to come up and fight him sometime. Be careful what you wish for, man. Poirier is no joke. He has to be the quickest fighter in the league and has put many greats to shame. We'll have to wait and see if he takes the bait. Colby is known for being an excellent wrestler. Most of his pre-UFC background was in wrestling, so he definitely knows how to close space and take people downtown. Of course, grappling is really different depending on your weight level. Yes, fighters are generally slower at heavier weights, but they also just have lots more raw muscle. Getting them in a choke is really difficult when they are built like tanks. The only fighter to ever knock out the Stylebender is finally coming to the UFC. Adesanya has one of the best records in UFC history. In professional kickboxing, Izzy also had an amazing record, but there was one fighter who knocked his block off: Alex Pereira. Now, this shark is coming to the UFC, and it's almost certain the UFC wants to match him back with Adesanya. They know Adesanya needs people other than the fighters he's been fighting. This demon from his past could be the red-hot poker that gets Izzy fired up enough to try and make light heavyweight champ. The Brazilian fighter also has an excellent, almost flawless record. He's beaten Adesanya twice, and currently some experts have ranked him as the #1 middleweight and light heavyweight fighter, and #6 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. If anyone could scare Adesanya, who has been dominating the UFC since 2019, it could be Pereira. Still, UFC is not kickboxing. MMA is a whole different ballgame than kickboxing for an obvious reason: grappling. Pereira is probably not used to having to get down and dirty, and even has registered a loss due to submission in a brief stint in MMA. It's very possible Adesanya could exploit this disadvantage. Adesanya is known as one of the best strikers in the world, but he's not bad at grappling either. I personally would love to see him choke out the man who knocked him out in kickboxing. It would be a great reminder that MMA is not like these other sports. Other fighting sports are played in 3 dimensions, but MMA is played in 4 dimensions. There is so much to think about that a wrestler or striker can get overwhelmed very easily. Personally, I don't think Pereira is much of a threat to Adesanya anymore. The man has been fighting with the best and has defended his title so many times, even with tons of doubters. I believe in you, Izzy. A new Liverpudlian fighter rises. Liverpool is known for some great MMA fighters, like Darren Till. But in the last UFC event, a new Scouse was making headlines. Enter Paddy Pimblett, a 26-year-old Scouse who made a splash in his debut fight by knocking out Brazilian fighter Luigi Vendramini in round 1. That's how any fighter wants to start their UFC career: a quick knockout and back to the adoring fans. Pimblett may not be a giant by UFC standards, but he's quick and powerful, and that's a killer combo. Other fighters were quick to congratulate the Scouse, but the press reacted with mixed messages. Some people say it's important not to sign Pimblett up for great fights before he proves himself a bit more in the octagon. Others pointed out that he is really young and inexperienced in a way. Pimblett himself said getting the CW belt meant more to him than the UFC knockout he just achieved, which is really understandable. He had to work hard for that CW belt. This knockout landed in his lap. Maybe if he continues his success in future matches, the UFC will start to mean a lot more to him. What do you think about the Brunson-Adesanya feud? Who do you think will take home the belt? How are you liking Pimblett's chances in the lightweight division?